Most people think shoes were always cheap. They weren't. For most of history, shoes were uncomfortable, expensive, and for a lot of people, optional. Not because they didn't want them, but because they couldn't afford them. There was a time when shoes weren't even made for left or right feet. Both shoes were the same shape. You wore them until your feet bent them into something usable. Comfort wasn't the goal, survival was. And the reason shoes stayed expensive for so long wasn't leather. It wasn't factories. It wasn't even demand. It was one step in the process that nobody could figure out how to automate. One step that kept prices high on purpose. Until a quiet black immigrant spent nearly 10 years watching hands move, memorizing every pull, every twist, every stretch, and secretly built a machine that broke the system wide open. This is Black Business Files, and this is the story of Ernst Matzeliger, the man who made shoes affordable for people who were never supposed to have them. Stay to the end, because this story isn't just about invention. It's about obsession, resistance, racism, money, and what happens when the system survives longer than the person who breaks it. Before the 1800s, shoes were made on what were called straight lasts. That meant there was no left shoe and no right shoe. Both were identical. You just wore them until your feet hurt less. Shoes took a long time to make, and they required skilled hand labor. That kept prices high. If you were working class or poor, you didn't have a closet full of shoes. You were lucky to have one pair. Some people had none. Shoes were not a basic good. They were closer to furniture than clothing. And the reason was one specific job in shoemaking called lasting. Lasting meant stretching the leather upper tightly over the shoe mold and attaching it to the sole. It had to be done by hand. It required strength, precision, and years of experience. One skilled laster could only do so many shoes in a day. That made lasters powerful. It also made shoes expensive by design. That bottleneck is where this story begins. Ernst Matzeliger was born in 1852 in Suriname, which was then Dutch Guiana. His father was a white Dutch civil engineer. His mother was a black woman who worked in his father's household and is widely understood to have been enslaved or formerly enslaved. Slavery in Suriname wasn't abolished until 1863, when Jan was already a child. That matters. He was born with access to machines, but not access to power. Access to knowledge, but not protection. Close to engineering, but far from ownership. That contradiction followed him his entire life. By around 10 years old, Jan was already working in or around his father's machine shop. This wasn't privilege. This was colonial child labor. But it mattered. He learned how tools felt in his hands. He learned how metal behaved. He learned that machines weren't magic. They were logic. As a teenager, Jan left Suriname and spent about 2 years working on a steamship. Down in the engine room, he learned how real machines worked under pressure. Steam engines, moving parts, systems that could fail if even one piece was wrong. That experience trained his brain. He stopped seeing tools. He started seeing systems. When he eventually arrived in the United States, Jan didn't walk into a factory as an inventor. He learned cord weining, traditional shoemaking by hand. He cut leather. He shaped uppers. He watched lasting done the old way. Eventually, Jan got a job inside a shoe factory in Lynn, Massachusetts, the center of American shoemaking. That job is the reason he was able to see production up close. Day after day, he watched the whole process, what machines did, what they couldn't do, and where production kept getting stuck. Almost every part of shoemaking had been mechanized, except lasting. Lasting was still controlled by elite craftsmen. One laster, one shoe at a time. Lasters were among the highest paid workers in the industry, not because owners respected them, but because owners were trapped by them. That wasn't tradition, that was leverage. Once Jan saw where production kept getting stuck, he focused on that step. He watched the lasters work. He paid attention to how they pulled the leather, where they applied pressure, and the exact order they did things in. He watched the timing. He watched the repetition. What looked like skilled handwork to everyone else looked like a process to him. And once he understood the process, he knew it could be turned into a machine. Jan didn't tell anyone what he was doing. At night, in secret, after long factory shifts, he worked alone. He built his first machine out of wire, wood, cigar boxes, and scrap parts. Whatever he could afford. whatever he could find. This wasn't tinkering, it was obsession, and it was dangerous. If lasters knew someone was trying to automate them, especially a black immigrant, sabotage was a real risk. When his employer finally saw the crude machine working, he offered Jan $50 to buy it. Jan said no. 4 years later, after rebuilding the machine in iron, the offer came again. This time it was $1,500. Jan said no again, because he understood something critical. Buying the machine wasn't the same as owning the future. If you're enjoying this kind of story, where invention, money, and power collide, this is Black Business Files. Subscribe to the channel. These stories don't get told enough, and they don't survive without support. Now back to it. From the time he spotted the problem to the moment the machine was finally finished, Jan spent nearly 10 years on this one idea. If it failed, there was nothing to fall back on. No savings, no protection, just the same factory work, only after a decade of strain. He worked long hours at the factory, then came home and worked more. Meals were irregular. Sleep was an afterthought. The machine always came first. The coughing started, then the exhaustion, then the weakness. He kept going anyway. By the time the machine was finished, his body was already giving out. The invention made it. He barely did. Jan secured investors and filed for a patent. The machine was so complex that a patent examiner had to visit in person to understand it. In 1885, the machine was used publicly for the first time. It lasted 75 pairs of shoes and broke production records. Lasting time dropped from hours to minutes. Factories went from producing dozens of shoes a day to hundreds. Prices fell by about 50%. People who had never really been able to afford shoes could finally buy them. Before that, many went barefoot. Others wore rags or stiff wooden clogs, uncomfortable but better than bare feet. Shoes stopped being something you saved for. They became something you could actually wear. The Consolidated Lasting Machine Company was created. Jan received a meaningful ownership stake, but his health was already failing. Workers fought the machine. Racial slurs followed him, and even the invention itself. He was called the Dutch N-word, and the machine was called the N-word head laster. Jan developed tuberculosis and died at 36 years old. The industry exploded. When he died, he left his money to the church. Years later, the city erected a statue in his honor. The industry got rich first. The inventor got remembered later. Jan Ernst Matzeliger didn't just invent a machine. He decoded skilled labor, rebuilt it in iron, and made shoes affordable for people capitalism usually leaves behind.
Hey guys, stories like Jan Ernst Matzeliger is the reason we started Black Business Files. There's so many inventors, innovators, and entrepreneurs that have been lost throughout history. We felt strongly about bringing you these stories. If you enjoy these stories and want to see more, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and definitely leave us a comment down below. See you in the next one.